Hey everybody, Ace Trinilium here and welcome to another episode of Form Fight. Form Fight is a series where we take a look at a Pokemon with more than one form, or a branched evolution, or a counterpart Pokemon. We have a look at the differences between the Pokemon in question and try and work out which one is the best. And so we can see these Pokemon in action on the battlefield. We also have a Metronome battle between those Pokemon just for a little bit of fun. If you're a fan of Form Fight already and you're ready for more, make sure you hit the like button, show you're enjoying this series, and of course, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. With all that out of the way, let's have a look at today's challenges. Today we're going to be looking at the branched evolutions of Wurmple, which are Cascoon and Silcoon. Although that's kind of boring because they're both practically the same Pokemon, just with a different name and slightly different colour scheme. So we're going to jump straight ahead and compare their evolved forms, which are Dustox and Beautifly. Now Wurmple will evolve into either Cascoon or Silcoon at level 7, depending on its personality value, which cannot be seen or influenced by the player themselves. At level 10, however, a Cascoon will definitely evolve into Dustox, and a Silcoon will definitely evolve into Beautifly. But what makes these branched evolutions so different? Let's take a look. According to the Pokédex, Dustox is 1.2 meters tall and weighs 31.6 kilograms. Its Pokédex information says Dustox is instinctively drawn to light. Swarms of this Pokemon are attracted by the bright lights of cities, where they wreak havoc by stripping the leaves off roadside trees for food. When Dustox flaps its wings, a fine dust is scattered all over. This dust is actually a powerful poison that will make even a pro wrestler sick. This Pokemon searches for food using its antennae like radar. As for Beautifly, it's 1 meter tall and weighs 28.4 kilograms. Its Pokédex information says Beautifly's favorite food is the sweet pollen of flowers. If you want to see this Pokemon, just leave a potted flower by an open window. Beautifly is sure to come looking for pollen. Beautifly has a long mouth like a coiled needle, which is very convenient for collecting pollen from flowers. This Pokemon rides the spring winds as it flits around gathering pollen. Appearance-wise, Dustox looks like a purple and green moth with red spots and circles on its wings, with red legs and yellow eyes and antennae, whereas Beautifly looks, of course, like a butterfly, with a black and white body, black wings with red, blue and yellow patterns, and blue eyes. In their shiny forms, Dustox's green wings change to a dull leafy brown colour, and Beautifly's black and white body becomes brown and cream, with its wings changing from black to purple, and the yellow in its wing patterns also changing to cream. Now let's have a look at the typing, weaknesses, and resistances of these Pokemon. First up is Dustox, which is a dual-type bug and poison Pokemon, which makes it weak to flying, rock, fire, and psychic type attacks. Dustox resists fighting, poison, bug, grass, and fairy-type moves, and has no immunities. As for Beautifly, it's a dual-type bug and flying Pokemon, which makes it weak to flying, rock, fire, electric, and ice type attacks, with the rock weakness being a 4 times weakness. This Pokemon resists fighting, bug, and grass type moves, and is completely immune to ground type attacks. Now let's take a look at the stats and abilities of these Pokemon. First up we have Dustox, who boasts decent special defense, and that's pretty much all it has. Its HP, attack, defense, special attack, and speed are all pretty lackluster. Its primary ability is Shield Dust, which prevents moves with additional effects from causing said additional effects. For example, Dustox cannot be made to flinch from an air slash or burn by a flamethrower. Its hidden ability is Compound Eyes, which increases the accuracy of Dustox's moves by 30%. Now, an accuracy increase is nothing to scoff at, but when you look at the moves that Dustox can learn that are actually improved by this ability, they're Poison Powder, Toxic, Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, String Shot, Electro Web, and Swagger. So it's not really that useful an ability. Granted, Compound Eyes can be handy in the event your opponent has lowered Dustox's accuracy, but it's hardly an ability to bank on. As for Beautifly, it has the same stats as Dustox, aside from its attack and defense being flipped, and its special attack and special defense being switched. Although as of Gen 6, it does have a further 10 base power in special attack. Wait, where's Dustox's stat boost? RIP Dustox, I guess. Beautifly's primary ability is Swarm, which powers up bug-type moves when Beautifly's HP is less than 1/3 of its maximum. We've discussed these types of abilities before on Form Fight. They're great in situations where they can be activated, but don't build your strategy around losing 2/3 of your HP. Its hidden ability is Rivalry, which increases the power of Beautifly's attacks if it's attacking an opponent of the same gender by 25%. And reduces it by 25% if it's attacking an opponent of the opposite gender. This kind of ability is handy in story mode, but in a competitive battle you don't want to run the risk of being stuck against an opponent whose gender reduces your attacks, as great as the payoff would be if you were actually matched up against the same gender as you Beautifly. Now it's time for me to decide which of these two branched evolutions of technically Wurmple I prefer, and I'm gonna go with Beautifly. I used to not really like Beautifly because I thought it was just basically another Butterfree, but it definitely, compared to Dustox, has its uses. I don't see Dustox as a very useful Pokemon because it's not very good physically, it's not very good specially, and it's not really good as a Stally Pokemon because yes, it has the special defense, but it doesn't have the HP. I definitely think Dustox is a Pokemon that would benefit from a stat increase in a future generation, even if it is just the 10 base power increase that Beautifly got. It's just not that great of a Pokemon. Like, I like it. I like both these Pokemon, but Beautifly just seems the more useful to me compared to Dustox, although both of them don't really have abilities that they have either the capabilities or the movesets to be able to shine with. So it's a really difficult one because competitively, I wouldn't pick either of these Pokemon. Appearance-wise, I'd pick both these Pokemon, but Beautifly being the slightly more useful of the two because of its special attack stat, I'm going to give the edge to Beautifly. But of course, it's not just up to me to decide, it's up to you guys to decide which of these is your favourite. But of course, before we do that, before you make your decision, it's time to see these Pokemon on the battlefield. It's time for the Metronome battle. Before we get into the battle, I will point out these Pokemon have max IVs in all stats, 0 EVs in all stats, they're not holding any items, they've got neutral natures, they've both got their hidden abilities. The only advantage or disadvantage any of these Pokemon get comes from their typing and their base stats. Everything else is all up to the Metronome. Let's go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another bug-related battle on Form Fight. We got Dustox facing off against Beautifly. Look at that lovely shiny. It's nice to see a shiny that's actually different from the original Pokemon for a change. Here we go with shiny Beautifly starting things off with Rototiller that doesn't affect anybody on the field. What a fantastic beginning, lads. Oh boy, we're in for a treat with these two, aren't we? What's regular Beautifly going to do to follow up? What's it got in store for us today? It's going to go for Mist Ball. Okay, now that's going to do some damage. That's actually going to be useful. Look at that super effective hit doing massive damage to shiny Dustox on turn 1. I take it back, Beautifly. You're not doing as badly as I thought you'd do. Here's a yawn though from shiny Dustox onto that regular Beautifly. It is going to become drowsy and fall asleep on the next turn. Here comes regular Dustox though. It is going to fire off a Flare Blitz. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Here's where things pick up. Flare Blitz onto the shiny Beautifly, nearly taking it down, bringing it right down into the red there. Massive recoil though on that regular Dustox, but oh my goodness, Dustox is making a statement from the get-go. Here comes shiny Dustox starting the next turn off with Cut onto that shiny Beautifly, bringing it so close to death, but just not quite. Here comes regular Beautifly to follow with the Rock Tomb. That is going to be super effective on that regular Dustox. Huge damage there. This one is not going to last very long. Rest in peace, my ad revenue. As we see the shiny Beautifly going for strength, bringing out all the HMs today. We've already seen cut and strength. Not quite enough to polish off the Dustox, but that regular Dustox is in the danger zone right now as it goes for Venom Drench, but it fails as the regular Beautifly falls asleep to end that turn thanks to that previous yawn. What will happen next? I have absolutely no idea. Well, we know that this Beautifly is going to be asleep for at least this turn as the shiny counterpart, shiny Beautifly, with barely any HP left, follows up with a Charge Beam that is going to do some neutral damage to that shiny Dustox there. Not quite a lot, but does raise the special attack one stage on the shiny Beautifly if it can survive long enough to take advantage of that. As we see shiny Dustox going for a splash, just wasting time, feeling a little bit cocky there, so thinks, you know what, sod it, I'm going to do a little splash just to taunt my opponents. Here comes the regular Dustox with a Vital Throw. It's not very effective on the shiny Beautifly, but it is enough to take it right down. Down goes shiny Beautifly. We are now 1 Beautifly versus 2 Dustox, although 1 Dustox is not looking very, very healthy at all. Here comes shiny Dustox. It's going to go against, just going to go with a Roost. I thought it was going to go against with some kind of attack, which would have made my sentence make sense. But thank you very much for ruining my sentence, shiny Dustox, as it goes for the Roost and restores its HP almost back up to maximum. Beautifly is going to wake up though. It's going to fire at the Metronome and go for Electrify. That's not a smart move, dum-dum. Oh dear. Going to electrify the moves of that regular Dustox there, so that's really risky to give your opponent, you know, your weakness. Here's an Electro Ball though coming out from that Dustox that is going to do super effective damage, but not quite enough because these Pokemon are kind of matched in speed, although Dustox is slower at the moment because of that earlier Rock Tomb. Pay attention, kids. Here's Beautifly with a Safeguard, so it's not going to get any status conditions. Oh god, I hope someone uses Laser Focus so that the comments can say, Liam doesn't know any of the moves. There's thousands of moves, mate. Relax. Here comes shiny Dustox with a Clamp that is going to do consistent damage at the end of each turn to this Beautifly, so Beautifly wants to be careful to make sure that it takes care of both these Dustox with ample time to spare. Here comes regular Dustox. It's going to go for Twister on that Beautifly. It's not going to do a lot of damage because Twister's a garbage move, but hey, it's there. And there's more clamp damage, so it kind of makes up for it. Beautifly is now below half its maximum HP. Things are starting to get dangerous. It needs to clear off one of these Dustox if it's got any chance of survival. Here's a Grass Knot, though. It's going to be 4 times resistant by Beautifly because of the bug and flying typing, and Beautifly is pretty light, so it doesn't take much damage from Grass Knot anyway. Here is Beautifly following back, firing back, following up with Psych Up. It's going to copy stat changes because attacking is overrated, I guess. So here we go with Dustox. What's it got in mind here to use against this Beautifly? Gonna go for Heat Crash. That is super effective. That's using your noodle, you dusty bastard. And here's Beautifly, almost dead, but the clamp damage, is it enough at the end of that turn? Clamp damage takes it out and Beautifly is down. Rest in peace, Beautifly. Dustox with a very decisive victory there. Well done to the Dustox boys and girls. What a great form fight. So you've heard what I've got to say, you've seen these Pokemon on the battlefield, but now it's time for you to make your decision. Which of these 2 Pokemon do you prefer? Is it Dustox or Beautifly? Let me know in the comments and explain to everybody why your pick is the absolute best. And that's where I'm going to leave this episode of Form Fight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to support the channel like these wonderful people down here do, you can pledge to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/AceTrainerLiam. And for live streams 5 days a week, head over to twitch.tv/AceTrainerLiam. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.